I still can't believe you picked Portugal, Liam said, shaking his head as he placed another basket of fries on our table. I laughed. I've supported them for years. One bad match won't change that. Sophia smiled at me. He's loyal to everything. I call that a good quality, I replied. She shrugged. We'll see. The sports bar buzzed with excitement. Every television showed the final minutes of Argentina against Portugal. Fans shouted, waved flags, and argued across tables. I wasn't nervous about the result. It was only football. What mattered more was sitting beside the woman I planned to marry in 3 weeks. Daniel walked over, carrying 2 drinks. There you are, he said. Looks like Portugal is finished. I chuckled. Probably. He handed Sophia a glass. Thanks, she said. Daniel leaned against the table. So, Ethan, ready to admit your team is done? I've survived worse seasons. That's the spirit, Liam said. The final whistle echoed through the bar. Half the room exploded with cheers. Argentina, someone shouted. People clapped, laughed, and hugged each other. I smiled politely. It's just a game, I said. Daniel grinned. Maybe for you. Sophia laughed. Oh, come on, this is too perfect. I looked at her. What do you mean? She pointed at the screen. Portugal lost. Yes. She looked directly at me. Kind of reminds me of you. Everyone around the table laughed. I forced a smile. Very funny. No, seriously, she continued. Portugal kept trying but never had a chance. Daniel burst out laughing. That's exactly Ethan. I rubbed the back of my neck. I think you're exaggerating. Sophia shook her head. Am I? She raised her glass. To Portugal. Several people answered, Cheers! Then she added, and to Ethan, the born loser. The words landed harder than I expected. The table became silent for 1 second. Then Daniel laughed so loudly, people turned toward us. I wish I'd thought of that. A couple sitting nearby laughed too, even though they didn't know me. I felt heat rising into my face. Liam frowned. That's enough. Sophia waved her hand. Oh, relax. I tried to keep smiling. It's okay. No, Liam said. It isn't. Sophia rolled her eyes. We're joking. Daniel smirked. If the shoe fits. I looked at my drink instead of answering. Inside, something hurt. Sophia touched my shoulder. Don't make that face. What face? The one where you act like everyone is attacking you. I'm not acting. She laughed again. There it is. I swallowed quietly. I thought we were here to enjoy the match. We are, she replied. You're just making this dramatic. Liam crossed his arms. He's not the one embarrassing someone. Sophia Siegel. You're taking his side? I'm taking the side of basic respect. Daniel scoffed. Respect? Over a football joke? Liam answered. This stopped being about football 2 minutes ago. Sophia looked at me again. Tell him he's overreacting. Everyone waited for my answer. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to tell her she had crossed a line. Instead, I whispered, let's just forget it. Sophia smiled proudly. See? Ethan understands. Her words should have comforted me. Instead, They made me feel smaller than ever. The conversation moved on, but I could not. Every laugh around the table sounded louder than before. I stared at the melting ice in my glass and wondered why the woman I loved seemed happier making everyone laugh at me than laughing with me. Daniel lifted his drink again. Come on, Ethan. Say something funny. Maybe you'll finally score a win tonight. I forced a weak smile. I think you've already had enough victories. Sophia laughed. See? Even his comeback sounds like he already gave up. A few people nearby chuckled. Liam leaned closer to me. You don't have to sit here. I'm fine, I lead. No, you're not. Sophia heard him. Seriously, Liam, you're acting like I insulted his family. You insulted the man you're supposed to marry. She folded her arms. I teased him. You humiliated him. She looked at me. Did I? I hesitated. Every eye at the table was on me. If I admitted the truth, I knew she would call me dramatic. If I stayed quiet, I would be agreeing with her. It's okay, I finally said. Liam sighed. I don't believe you. Daniel smiled. Good choice, Ethan. Smart men know when to stay quiet. Something inside me wanted to answer him, but I stayed silent. Sophia reached for my hand. There, everything's fine now. Her hand felt warm, but her words felt cold. After another few minutes, people began talking about other matches, vacation plans, and work. I barely heard any of it. I kept replaying one sentence. Born loser. It was only 2 words. Yet they echoed inside my head again and again. When the bill arrived, I picked it up. I'll pay. Sophia smiled. See? That's what I like about you. Daniel laughed. At least he's useful. Liam slammed his hand on the table. Enough! The room became quiet. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What? You keep insulting him because you think he won't answer back. Daniel shrugged. He doesn't seem bothered. Liam looked at me. Tell them. I slowly stood. I think I'm going home. Sophia frowned. Over this? I'm tired. She laughed softly. No, you're sensitive. The word hurt almost as much as the others. I'll call you tomorrow, I said. She rolled her eyes. Don't be so dramatic. I nodded without arguing. Good night. Liam stood with me. I'll walk you out. Outside, the cool night air hit my face. Neither of us spoke for several steps. Finally, Liam broke the silence. Why do you let her treat you like that? I love her. He looked at me with sadness. Love isn't supposed to make you feel ashamed. I stared at the lights across the street. Maybe she didn't mean it. Ethan, she looked you in the eyes while everyone laughed. I had no answer. He placed a hand on my shoulder. Think carefully before you marry her. I watched the sports bar through the window. Sophia was still laughing with Daniel. She never looked toward the door. She never noticed I was gone. For the first time in 4 years, I asked myself a question that terrified me. Did the woman I wanted to spend my life with actually respect me at all? I walked into the darkness, carrying a pain that felt much heavier than a football match, never imagining it was only the beginning of everything that would soon fall apart. The next morning, I stared at my phone for almost an hour before Sophia finally called. Good morning, she said cheerfully. Morning. You sound tired. I didn't sleep much. You seriously let that football joke ruin your night? It wasn't just the football. She sighed. Ethan, are we really doing this? I'm asking for one thing. What? An apology. Silence filled the call. Then she laughed. You can't be serious. I am. I teased you. You embarrassed me. You embarrassed yourself by acting hurt. I closed my eyes. So you don't think you did anything wrong? No. Not even a little? No. Her answer hurt more than I expected. I have to get to work, I said quietly. Fine. Stop overthinking everything. The call ended before I could answer. I drove to the office feeling heavier than the day before. I kept replaying every word in my head, hoping I had misunderstood her, but nothing changed. She truly believed I deserved a joke. Around noon, my phone buzzed. Olivia. Our wedding planner. Hi, Ethan, she said. Hi, Olivia. I wanted to confirm Saturday's meeting. I'll be there. She hesitated. Oh, will Sophia still bring everyone? Everyone? I'm sorry. What do you mean? I thought she already told you. Told me what? Another pause followed. I'm afraid I said something I shouldn't have. Olivia, please. She lowered her voice. During the last planning meeting, Sophia brought 2 co-workers. Daniel was there? Yes. My stomach tightened. What happened? I honestly thought you knew. Knew what? They joked around most of the meeting. I swallowed hard. What kind of jokes? Olivia sounded uncomfortable. They kept comparing wedding decisions to whether you could make them without getting confused. I stayed silent. Then Daniel said you probably needed permission to choose your own suit. And Sophia? She laughed. My fingers tightened around the phone. Was that all? I wish it was. I leaned against my desk. Please tell me. She said you were sweet because you never argued. I almost smiled. Then Olivia continued. After that, she added that marrying you would be easy because you always accepted losing. The room suddenly felt smaller. I see. I'm so sorry, Ethan. You didn't do anything. I honestly believed you both laughed about those jokes together. No. I'm sorry. Thank you for telling me. After the call ended, I stared at my reflection in the dark computer screen. Born loser. Always accepted losing. The words sounded different, yet they carried the same message. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Liam stepped inside. You look terrible. I feel worse. He sat across from me. Did something happen? I nodded. Olivia called. What did she say? I told him everything. His jaw tightened. I knew it. What do you mean? I didn't want to tell you without proof. He unlocked his phone. I hoped I was wrong. Then he placed a screen in front of me. Ethan, I think it's time you saw what she's been saying when you're not around. Liam looked into my eyes before sliding his phone across the desk. I didn't want to hurt you, he said quietly. Just show me. He unlocked a group chat. It's between Sophia, Daniel, and a few co-workers. My hand shook as I read the first message. Daniel had written, Did Ethan survive another shopping trip? Sophia replied, Of course. He says yes to everything. Another coworker laughed with emojis. Then Daniel wrote, You're basically marrying the nicest doormat alive. I kept reading. Sophia answered, That's why life with him will be easy. I stopped scrolling. I can't. Liam spoke gently. There's more. I don't want more. You need the truth. I took a deep breath and continued. Someone had asked, Does he ever stand up for himself? Sophia answered, Never. That's his special talent. I handed the phone back. He trusted her. I know. I defended her. I know. I thought everyone exaggerated. Liam sighed. You loved her. Love can blind anyone. I leaned back in my chair. What am I supposed to do now? I can't answer that. I have wedding invitations arriving at people's houses. I know. I've paid deposits. I know. I've promised forever. Liam remained silent. Finally, he said, Forever only works when both people respect each other. His words stayed with me long after he left. That afternoon, I forced myself to focus on work. A few hours later, Victor stopped beside my desk. Ethan, do you have a minute? Of course. Come to my office. I followed him inside. He smiled. I reviewed your presentation. I appreciate that. You solved a problem our senior team struggled with for weeks. Thank you. I'm serious. I just did my job. That's exactly why I value you. He opened a folder. Our London office needs someone dependable. I stared at him. London? 6-month project. It could become permanent. I almost forgot to breathe. That's incredible. I plan to ask after your honeymoon. I looked down. When would it start? About a month after your wedding. Wedding. The word suddenly felt heavy. Victor noticed my expression. Everything okay? I don't know. If you need time, take it. Thank you. After work, I drove home instead of visiting Sophia. For the first time since proposing, I wanted silence more than conversation. When I walked inside, my sister Grace was waiting with takeout. You look exhausted, she said. I feel exhausted. She handed me a drink. What happened? I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Ethan, love without respect isn't love. I lowered my head. What if canceling the wedding ruins everything? She answered softly. What if marrying someone who doesn't respect you ruins the rest of your life? I couldn't answer. That night, I looked at the wedding invitation on my kitchen table. For the first time, I didn't imagine walking toward my future. I imagined walking away from it instead. 3 days passed without a real conversation between Sophia and me. Every text from her sounded normal. Did you eat? Don't forget Saturday's cake tasting. Mom loves the flower samples. Nothing mentioned the party. Nothing mentioned the screenshots. Nothing mentioned respect. On Saturday afternoon, I arrived at the hotel where our final wedding planning meeting was scheduled. I stepped inside and looked around. The receptionist smiled. Good afternoon. I'm here for the Bennett wedding meeting. Second floor. Thank you. As I reached the hallway, I noticed the meeting room door was slightly open. I heard laughter. Then I heard Sophia's voice. I stopped walking. Daniel spoke first. So are you actually excited to get married? Sophia laughed. I'm excited for the wedding. He chuckled. That's not what I asked. I know. So? She answered without hesitation. The wedding is the fun part. What about Ethan? Another laugh. He's safe, Daniel whistled. That's romantic. You know what I mean. No, explain it. I stood frozen outside the door. Sophia lowered her voice, but I could still hear every word. I've always wanted a luxury wedding. And? This one will be perfect. Daniel asked, even if the groom isn't. She laughed again. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Someone inside opened a bottle of water. I stayed perfectly still. Daniel continued. Do you actually love him? A few seconds passed. Then Sophia answered. I care about him. That's different. I know. So why marry him? Because he'll never leave me. My heart started pounding. Daniel laughed loudly. You're confident. He loves me too much. What if he finally grows a backbone? He won't. How can you be sure? Because every time I cross the line, he forgives me. My chest tightened. Daniel said, You're describing a puppy. She laughed instead of disagreeing. I felt my hands clench into fists. Daniel kept talking. Honestly, Ethan's biggest problem is that he's too nice. Sophia replied, Exactly. I'd call it weakness. She didn't defend me. Instead, she answered quietly, Sometimes I think so too. The words hit harder than anything before. I remembered the sports bar. I remembered the screenshots. I remembered every moment I told myself she didn't mean it. Now I knew she meant every word. Daniel spoke again. So after the honeymoon, what's next? She laughed. I'll finally have the wedding photos I've dreamed about. And the husband? He'll keep working. You make marriage sound like a business deal. She answered without shame. Maybe every successful marriage is. I couldn't breathe normally anymore. Every excuse I had ever made for her disappeared. Every warning Liam gave me suddenly made sense. Every painful conversation with Grace echoed inside my head. Love without respect isn't love. I quietly stepped backward before anyone noticed me. My phone buzzed. It was Sophia. The screen lit up with her smiling picture. I watched it ring until it stopped. A second later, another message appeared. Where are you? Everyone is waiting. I stared at the words for several seconds. Then I slipped my phone back into my pocket without replying. For the first time since proposing, I wasn't wondering how to save my relationship. I was wondering whether it deserved to be saved at all. I quietly left the hotel before anyone noticed I had arrived. My hands would not stop shaking. I sat inside my car for several minutes, staring through the windshield. Every memory felt different now. Every smile looked fake. Every promise sounded empty. My phone rang again. This time it was Richard. I answered. Hello. Ethan, he said warmly. Where are you, son? I'm sorry. Something came up. Sophia said you disappeared. I needed some air. He laughed gently. Wedding planning can exhaust anyone. I suppose. I just wanted to say something. I'm listening. You've always treated my daughter well. His kindness made my chest ache. Thank you. I know marriage isn't always easy. I understand. Take good care of her. His words almost broke me. I've always tried. I know you have. He paused before speaking again. Our family is lucky to have you. I closed my eyes. Thank you, Richard. We'll see you soon? I'll try. After the call ended, I rested my forehead against the steering wheel. Richard believed I was the problem solver. He had no idea his daughter laughed whenever I became the problem. That evening, I drove home without answering Sophia's messages. She called 3 times. I let every call end. Around 9 o'clock, Liam knocked on my door. You ignored me all day. I know. What happened? I told him everything I had overheard. He stayed silent until I finished. Then he sighed. I was afraid it had become this bad. I kept making excuses for her. Because you loved her. I thought patience would fix everything. It can't fix disrespect. I nodded slowly. What would you do? He looked directly at me. I can't choose for you. I know. But if I were marrying someone who laughed while another man called me weak? He stopped. You wouldn't marry her. No. His answer was calm. Mine was painful. After he left, I opened my laptop. One by one, I searched every wedding contract. Venue. Catering. Photography. Flowers. Music. Each cancellation policy felt like another goodbye. I wrote phone numbers on a notepad. Tomorrow, I would start making calls. Not because I hated Sophia. Because I finally respected myself. Near midnight, another message appeared. Sophia. Stop acting childish. Call me. I read it twice. Then I turned my phone over. For the first time, I chose silence instead of another argument. I walked into the spare room where my wedding suit hung inside a protective cover. I slowly unzipped it. The dark suit looked perfect. Weeks earlier, I had imagined wearing it while waiting for the happiest moment of my life. Now it looked like clothing meant for someone else. I reached into my desk drawer and removed the printed cancellation forms I had prepared. The papers felt heavier than they should have. One hand held the documents. The other touched the sleeve of my wedding suit. I stood there in complete silence, realizing the hardest decision of my life was no longer whether I should leave. It was whether I had enough courage to finish what I had already started. The morning of my wedding arrived, but I felt strangely calm. Liam adjusted his tie and looked at me. Are you sure? I nodded. I've never been more sure. You can still walk away before everyone arrives. I won't run. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell the truth. He placed a hand on my shoulder. I'm with you. Thank you. Outside the dressing room, I heard music begin. Guests were taking their seats. A few minutes later, Olivia knocked softly. Ethan? Come in. She stepped inside. It's almost time. I know. She looked at my face. You've made your decision. Yes. She hesitated. If anyone asks me what happened, I won't lie. I appreciate that. She smiled sadly before leaving. I took one deep breath and walked toward the ceremony. The room looked beautiful. White flowers covered every aisle. Soft music filled the air. Family members smiled as I passed. Richard walked over and hugged me. "You look nervous." "I suppose I am." He laughed. "Every groom is." He straightened my jacket. "Thank you for loving my daughter." His words almost made me change my mind. Almost. The music changed. Everyone stood. Sophia entered wearing a stunning white dress. She smiled confidently as she walked toward me. For a brief moment, I remembered the day I proposed. Then I remembered every cruel word she had spoken. The memories canceled each other. She reached my side and whispered, "See? Everything worked out." I quietly answered, "Not exactly." She frowned. "What does that mean?" The officiant smiled warmly. "Dear family and friends, we are gathered here today." I raised my hand. "I'm sorry." The room became silent. "I need to say something first." The officiant stepped back. Sophia looked confused. "Ethan?" I turned toward the guests. "My name is Ethan Carter." Everyone watched me. "I invited you here because I believed today would be the happiest day of my life." I paused. I was wrong. Confused whispers spread across the room. Sophia forced a smile. "What are you doing?" I faced her. "I'm telling the truth." She laughed nervously. "This isn't funny." "I know." I reached into my jacket and removed several printed screenshots. I believed marriage required love. I looked around the room. I still believe that. I lifted another page. But marriage also requires trust. Silence filled the hall. And respect. Sophia whispered through clenched teeth. "Stop." I continued anyway. Over the past several weeks, I've learned that the woman standing beside me doesn't respect me. Her smile disappeared. "Ethan, enough." I looked directly at her. "You called me a born loser." She shook her head. "It was a joke. You laughed while another man called me weak. You're twisting everything." I held up the screenshots. "You told your coworkers I'd never stand up for myself." Guests leaned forward. I heard quiet gasps. Sophia reached toward the papers. "Give me those." I stepped back. "No." For the first time since we met, I wasn't afraid of disappointing her. I was only afraid of disappointing myself by staying silent again. I held the screenshots where everyone could see them. "My private conversations were never the problem," I said. "Your public disrespect was." Sophia reached for my arm. "Ethan, please, we can talk later." I gently moved away. "We've had plenty of chances to talk." She forced a smile toward the guests. "He's upset because I teased him after a football match." I shook my head. "No, the football match only opened my eyes." I turned another page. "You called me a born loser." She crossed her arms. "It was harmless." "You laughed while Daniel called me a doormat." "You're overreacting." "You told people I'd never leave because I loved you too much." Her face turned pale. "Who told you that?" I heard you say it yourself. The room fell completely silent. Richard stepped forward. Sophia? Is that true? She looked at her father. Dad, he's taken everything out of context. I answered calmly. I wish that were true. Olivia slowly walked toward us. She took a careful breath. I don't want to interrupt. Richard looked at her. Please, tell us. She lowered her eyes. I was present during several planning meetings. Sophia whispered, Olivia. Olivia continued. I heard jokes about Ethan more than once. Richard frowned. You never told me. I thought Ethan already knew. I looked at Richard. I didn't. His shoulders dropped. He looked heartbroken. Sophia grabbed my hand. We can fix this. I slowly pulled away. I spent weeks hoping you would apologize. I didn't think it mattered. That's exactly why we're here. Tears filled her eyes. I love you. I answered quietly. If you loved me, you wouldn't enjoy humiliating me. She cried harder. I'll change. I begged for respect, not perfection. Richard covered his face. I'm so sorry, Ethan. You have nothing to apologize for. The officiant quietly stepped aside. Nobody spoke. Every guest waited for my decision. I reached into my jacket and removed the cancellation documents. My hand stayed steady. I've already contacted the vendors. Sophia stared at me. You what? I canceled everything that could be canceled. You can't do this. I already have. She shook her head. Our families are here. I know. Our friends are here. I know. We're supposed to get married. I looked into her eyes one last time. We were supposed to respect each other first. I signed the final cancellation page. The sound of my pen against the paper seemed louder than the music that had filled the room minutes earlier. I handed the document to the officiant. The ceremony is over. Nobody tried to stop me. Liam stood near the aisle. As I walked past him, he nodded. You finally chose yourself. I managed a small smile. I should have done it sooner. Together, we walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard crying, shocked whispers, and unanswered questions. I didn't turn around. My heart hurt more than I thought possible. Yet every step away from that altar felt lighter than the one before. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking toward the life everyone expected me to live. I was walking toward the life I finally respected enough to choose for myself. 6 months later, I stood beside the large windows of my new office in London. Victor walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. You still arrived before everyone. I smiled. Old habits. He handed me a cup. You've changed. I hope that's a good thing. It is. I've been trying. He nodded. I can see that. I looked across the city skyline. Thank you for believing in me. You earned this opportunity. I almost threw it away. But you didn't. His words reminded me how close I had come to sacrificing my future for someone who never respected me. After work, I walked into the company cafeteria. A woman waved at me. Ethan. I smiled. Hi, Mia. She pointed at the empty chair. Join me. I sat down. She looked at my lunch and laughed. That's all you're eating? I'm trying to be healthier. You finally convinced me to start bringing salads? I never expected to influence anyone. She smiled warmly. You don't pressure people. I don't? No. You simply live the way you believe. I laughed softly. I've never heard that before. Then people haven't been paying attention. For the first time in a long while, someone's compliment made me feel appreciated instead of embarrassed. She changed the subject. Any weekend plans? I might explore the city. Alone? Probably. You should stop doing everything alone. Is that an invitation? It might be. I smiled. I'd like that. Later that evening, Liam called. Look at you. What? You actually sound happy. I think I am. You deserve it. How's everything back home? He became quiet. You haven't heard? Heard what? Sophia. My stomach tightened for a moment. What about her? Daniel stopped talking to her. I stayed silent. He disappeared after the wedding. I'm not surprised. Lots of people did. I leaned against the kitchen counter. What happened? Most friends saw the screenshots. And? They realized you weren't lying. I slowly exhaled. I never wanted everyone against her. I know. But actions have consequences. What about Richard? He stopped paying her apartment rent. I frowned. Seriously? He told her she needed to take responsibility instead of blaming everyone else. I closed my eyes. That must have hurt him. It did. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, Liam asked, Do you miss her? I thought carefully before answering. I miss the person I believed she was. That's an honest answer. I don't miss how she treated me. You've grown. I'm trying. He laughed. No, Ethan. What? You're finally seeing your own worth. After the call ended, I stood quietly in my apartment. Months ago, hearing Sophia's name would have destroyed my evening. Now it simply reminded me how much my life had changed. My phone buzzed. An unknown number appeared. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered. Hello? A familiar voice whispered through the speaker. Ethan? It's me. I immediately recognized Sophia. For the first time since our wedding day, she had found a way to reach me. I stayed silent for several seconds before answering. How did you get this number? Liam didn't give it to me, she said quickly. I asked an old coworker who still knew someone at your company. I see. I know I shouldn't have called. Then why did you? I needed to hear your voice. I closed my eyes. What do you want, Sophia? I'm sorry. The words sounded sincere. Months earlier, they would have meant everything. Now they only reminded me how late they had arrived. I know I hurt you. Yes. I kept telling myself you would always forgive me. I know. I thought your kindness meant you would never leave. I answered quietly. My kindness wasn't permission to disrespect me. She began crying. I understand that now. I'm glad. I lost almost everyone. I listened without interrupting. Daniel stopped answering my calls. Silence. My friends blamed me. Silence again. Dad told me he loved me, but he wouldn't rescue me from my own mistakes. I looked through the apartment window. I'm sorry you're hurting. I deserve it. I didn't argue. She took a slow breath. I've spent months thinking about everything you said that day. And? You were right. I said nothing. I confused love with control. Another pause. I confused patience with weakness. I remembered Daniel's words from the hotel. Too nice. Weakness? Those memories no longer controlled me. Sophia spoke again. If I asked for another chance, she couldn't finish the sentence. I gently answered it anyway. My answer is no. She cried softly. I thought so. I truly hope you build a better future. Without you? Yes. I still love you. I looked around my quiet apartment. I believe you finally understand what love should look like. But it's too late. It is, she whispered. Will you ever forgive me? I smiled sadly. I already have. You have? I forgave you because I didn't want to carry anger forever. Then why can't we try again? Forgiveness and trust aren't the same. She stayed quiet. I can forgive what happened, I continued. But I can't pretend it never happened. I understand. I honestly hope you become happier. I hope you do too. We remained silent for several moments. Finally, she whispered, Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Sophia. The call ended. I placed my phone on the table without feeling the pain I once expected. A message arrived moments later. It contained only 4 words. Thank you for everything. I didn't reply. Some conversations deserve a peaceful ending instead of another chapter. The next morning, Mia met me outside the office. You look lighter today, she said. I finally closed an old door. She smiled. Ready for coffee? Absolutely. As we walked together, I realized something unexpected. The greatest revenge had never been exposing Sophia. It had never been watching her lose friends. It had never been hearing her regret. The greatest victory was becoming someone who no longer needed revenge to feel complete. Without realizing it, the balance between us had completely changed. She wanted another beginning. I had already found mine. 1 year passed faster than I expected. I stood beside the office window while Mia walked in carrying 2 coffees. I guessed your order, she said. I smiled. You guessed correctly. She handed me 1 cup. That's becoming a habit. I don't mind. She laughed. I hoped you'd say that. We stood quietly for a moment before she spoke again. Do you ever think about your old life? Sometimes. Does it still hurt? Not the way it used to. She nodded. I've noticed. What have you noticed? You smile without forcing it now. Her words made me laugh softly. I didn't realize anyone could tell. I could. How? You stopped apologizing every time someone disagreed with you. I looked at my coffee. I guess I've changed. You have. Is that good? It's one of the reasons I enjoy being around you. My heart felt strangely calm. Months ago, compliments made me suspicious. Now they simply made me grateful. After work, we walked through a nearby park. She looked at me. Can I ask something personal? You can. Are you afraid to love again? I thought carefully. I'm not afraid of love. What are you afraid of? Forgetting to respect myself. She smiled gently. I don't think you'll ever make that mistake again. I hope you're right. She stopped walking. I've wanted to tell you something. I'm listening. I like you. I smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. She laughed. You knew? I hoped. So, what happens now? I reached for her hand. We take things slowly? I'd like that. No rushing. No pretending. No games. She squeezed my hand. Just honesty. Exactly. For the first time in years, holding someone's hand felt peaceful instead of stressful. A week later, Victor called me into his office. I have good news. I'm listening. The board approved your promotion. I stared at him. You're serious? I wouldn't joke about this. I laughed. Thank you. You earned every bit of it. I appreciate everything you've done. He smiled. You did the hard work. As I left his office, my phone vibrated. An unknown message appeared. I'm in London. Could we meet once? Please. Ars. I immediately recognized the number. Sophia. I stared at the screen for several seconds. Mia noticed my expression. Everything okay? I showed her the message. She read it before looking back at me. You don't have to answer. I know. What do you want to do? I thought quietly. I don't want unfinished conversations controlling my future. So you'll meet her? One last time. She nodded without hesitation. I trust you. Those 3 words meant more than she probably realized. Trust. It was something I had once begged for. Now, someone offered it freely. The next afternoon, I walked toward a quiet cafe. Sophia was already sitting near the window. She stood as soon as she saw me. For a brief moment, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered my name. Ethan. Thank you for coming. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down quietly. You look well, she said. Thank you. You seem peaceful. I've worked hard for that. She nodded slowly. I can see it. A waiter approached. Would you like anything? Just water, I replied. Same for me, Sophia said. When the waiter walked away, silence settled between us. She finally spoke. I rehearsed this conversation 100 times. So did I. She looked down at her hands. I owe you the truth. I'm listening. I didn't understand love. I remained quiet. I confused attention with love. She swallowed hard. I confused control with security. I remembered hearing similar words during our phone call months earlier. She continued. I thought you would never leave. I know. I believed your patience meant I could keep crossing the line. It never did. Tears filled her eyes. I know that now. I answered gently. I believe you. She looked surprised. You do? Yes. Then why does this still hurt so much? Because growth doesn't erase consequences. She slowly nodded. I lost you because of my own choices. You did. She took a deep breath. I don't expect another chance. I'm glad. I only wanted you to know I finally understand. I'm happy you do. The waiter placed 2 glasses of water on the table before quietly leaving. Sophia looked at me again. Are you happy? I smiled without thinking. Yes. Really? For the first time in years. She laughed through her tears. I always thought losing our wedding would destroy you. It almost did. What changed? I stopped asking people to tell me my value. She listened carefully. I started believing it myself. She wiped her eyes. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. I hope you still do. I will. She stood slowly. I won't keep you any longer. I stood as well. She hesitated before speaking again. I'm sorry, Ethan. I know. I truly hope your future is beautiful. Thank you. I mean that. I believe you. She offered a small smile. Goodbye. Goodbye, Sophia. She walked toward the door without looking back. I watched her leave, not because I wanted her to return, but because I wanted to remember how peace felt. A few minutes later, I stepped outside. My phone buzzed. It was Mia. How did it go? I smiled and replied, It gave me closure. Nothing more. She answered almost immediately. Dinner tonight? I'd love that. I slipped my phone into my pocket and continued walking. The man who once begged for respect no longer existed. I had built a career I loved. I had friends who stood beside me. I had someone who valued honesty instead of weakness. Most importantly, I respected myself. As the evening sun filled the streets with warm light, I realized the greatest lesson of my life. Real happiness begins the moment I stop begging someone else to recognize my worth. Sometimes the greatest karma isn't watching another person fall. Sometimes the greatest victory is becoming someone who no longer needs revenge because I finally found the life I deserved all along.